Welcome to Grave Endeavors, the show where I travel across the country to visit different cemeteries and graveyards to find unique gravestones and the stories behind them. I'm Scary Gary, and we are in the Forest Lawn Cemetery in Buffalo, New York.
This place is beautifully haunting and it is massive, sitting at 269 acres with over 165,000 people interred and more being added all the time. When Buffalo became the biggest grain transfer port in the world by 1849, a man by the name of Charles E. Clark decided that there needed to be a large enough cemetery to house all the residents after they passed. He didn't just want to start any cemetery, he wanted it modeled after the Père Lachaise, which is the most famous cemetery in the world in Paris. The first interment was in 1850 with John Lay Jr. William Shelton, who spoke at the burial, noted, "What a great tide of grief will be poured forth here." With its over 3,500 trees that represent over 100 different species, this makes the cemetery double as an arboretum as well. There have been over 240 different kinds of birds spotted here. They're even encouraged to fly through here, as you'll find birdhouses in trees throughout the cemetery. Since the beginning, Forest Lawn has always been meant to serve both the living and the dead. There are quite a few famous people here that we have the honor to be in the presence of, so let's do the list. Rick James. I'm Rick James, bitch. Prince and Princess Sherbatow, Hero being the godson of Tsar Nicholas II. 13th President Millard Fillmore. Sarah Hinson, the founder of Flag Day.
Why, hello there, it's Scary Gary from the future. There were a lot more famous graves I planned on visiting. In fact, I spent several days compiling a very long list of graves. Unfortunately, I wasn't alone when filming this episode. You see, I was there with my ghost hunting team, Division 3AM, and that consisted of two fine lads, myself and Juicy Jeff included, and then Eerie Aaron and Spooky Sammy. The ladies got a little bit hungry, if you know what I mean. And we know what happens when the ladies get hungry, don't we, fellas? They get angry, they get crabby. So unfortunately, instead of filming that long list of famous graves for this segment, we had to cut it short and go get food. It's not all bad though. We got to go to a restaurant that was the birthplace of the Buffalo Wing, thanks to the recommendations of two little old ladies from Erie, Pennsylvania, who mistook me for being the star of a televised ghost hunting show. Well, that's that. That's why this list is so short. So back to the cemetery we go.
Not every gravestone we come across has such a detailed backstory, but it doesn't make them any less interesting. Take, for example, the gravestone of Mary Lowry and her husband.
How many sunsets have come and gone with you beneath these skies? How many cherished words whispered in the short but beautiful life? I can hear your voice on the wind. It carries me home where I can see your face again. Wherever you may roam, tell me, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you feel me? This place is so empty without you here.
In Victorian times, monuments to the dead were erected with something called a mourning figure. This is a sculpture of women in mourning for all eternity. The mourning figures come in a few different flavors. Women so overcome with grief that they're hunched over the grave on their hands and knees on the ground. Women reaching out to heaven as if reaching out for their loved one.
Women holding their head in their hands in complete dismay and distraught. And finally, a woman who is just resigned in the loss, completely accepting of death.
How many sunsets have come and gone with you beneath these skies? How many cherished words whispered in the short but beautiful life? I can hear your voice on the wind. It carries me home where I can see your face again. Wherever you may roam, tell me, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you feel me? This place is so empty without you here. I'd give anything to know if you're near.
Yet the Lowry family monument stands apart from that crowd, because this isn't just a mourning figure, it's the exact likeness of Mrs. Lowry herself. When her husband Joseph died, she commissioned to have her likeness carved into granite, wearing her best Victorian dress, to mourn Joseph for all eternity. This one has everything. A beautiful design crossed with a unique design. It's got a backstory that seems like it's ripped right off the page. At first glance, you're immediately drawn to it. Much like what my ex-wife used to tell me, it's what's on the inside that counts. Inside you'll find Nelson Blocher, laying in bed clutching a Bible. His parents, John and Elizabeth, stand each side of him, hovering nearby. It's an angel that supposedly resembles a maid that the family employed. That little tidbit is important to the scene that leads up to what you see inside the mausoleum. As the story goes, Nelson died of a broken heart. Nelson wasn't much of a ladies' man. He still lived at home at the age of 34 with his mom and dad. Some call that laziness, lack of motivation. I call that living the dream. It was in 1881 that the Blochers hired a new maid. Catherine was 20, young, beautiful, single, ready to mingle. Nelson took a liking to her immediately. He made no effort to hide it. Betty showed her his Star Wars figure collection. Lucky girl. Dang. Nelson and Catherine developed a novel-like romance. Nelson would find any reason to be next to her. They even nursed a sick kitten back to health together. This is just what my heart needs. I need like the Dawson's Creek theme music right now and a little montage of them doing stuff together. But I can't afford that. Can't afford that. Some people say that Catherine wasn't even really attracted to Nelson. She just went along with it to keep her job. Catherine, come on. Really gonna do my boy Nelson like that? I was like rooting for you guys and stuff. This is pure romance written all over it. Then again, that's just rumor and speculation because others say they fell madly in love. Dang, that's the warm, fuzzy feeling I'm looking for. I guess you could say things were starting to look like she was made for him. Fine. Yet, in spite of all this, his parents just did not approve. He was an uptown guy, she was a downtown girl, and they didn't think she was good enough for him. And they didn't want him mingling with the help. In 1881, his father told him that he was going to have to pack up immediately and head on over to Europe for an extended stay. John just wanted his son gone so he could put an end to their romantic relationship. There is one version of the story that says Nelson proposed to Catherine just before he left. She said she needed time to think, and off to Europe he went. Another version says Nelson barely even had time to say goodbye. And another side of the story says that once Nelson left town, Catherine packed up all of her things and skipped town in the middle of the night. But more widely accepted of a story is that once he was gone, his parents fired Catherine and told her, "Don't you come back. No more, no more, no more, no more." Regardless of which version you believe, when Nelson returned in the spring of 1882, Catherine was gone. John and Elizabeth Nelson's parents told him that 2 weeks after he had left, she had packed up all of her things and left, leaving only her Bible behind. Whatever reason she left, the result was the same. Nelson was heartbroken, flabbergasted, destroyed, crushed, devoid of all life, absolutely lost, needing to sage like right now. Completely devoid of any feeling except for his quest to find Catherine. She didn't even leave a note. He couldn't believe it. For the remainder of 1882, he searched for her. He totally neglected his health, business, family life, everything in the quest to find Catherine. By 1883, Nelson was completely done with his love quest. He had fallen sick and taken to bed. By 1884, he was in and out of being sick and just completely soaked in depression. He eventually became stuck in bed. The only thing that brought him comfort was the Bible that Catherine left behind. Sadly, January 24th, 1884, Nelson left our plane of existence, clutching Catherine's Bible to his chest. Nelson's mother became extremely distraught with guilt and sadness and demanded a monument fitting for her son. John, in his retirement, began to learn how to sculpt. So he did the design and sculpting himself. The monument was completed in 1888, and Nelson became its first resident, followed by his mother Elizabeth, whom had died of pneumonia in 1904 at the age of 78, and then his father Joseph, whom had died of old age in 1911 at the age of 85. It was actually said there were 6 crypts under there, and one of them was reserved for Catherine, so that perhaps Nelson and Catherine could be together in death. But that's just not true, as confirmed with the cemetery. There are only 3 crypts below the Blocher Mausoleum, so Nelson is living his afterlife the same way he lived his living life, with mom and dad. So Nelson spent the rest of his life searching for Catherine. And when he closed his eyes that final time, he did so knowing he would never see Catherine again. So take note and tell the people you care about that you love them today, because everything could change tomorrow.
I searched the world for you, so my heart could be complete. I didn't know what to do, but it was killing me. I looked for you between the pages of the book you left behind. My heart's just going through the stages, the harder you are to find. I loved you then, and I love you still. Death cannot keep us apart. I'll search the other side for you, the other half of my heart. I feel as cold as marble, laying in this bed. I'll close my eyes just a little and look for you when I wake again. I'll look for you when I wake again. Oh mother, can you help me? This pain is too much to bear. Father, do you hear me? Do you even care? These seasons, they come and go without you by my side. My love, where did you go? Where do you hide? I loved you then, and I love you still. Death cannot keep us apart. I'll search the other side for you, the other half of my heart. I feel as cold as marble, laying in this bed. I'll close my eyes just a little and look for you when I you when I wake again. The seasons change through these panes of glass, but my pain still doesn't pass. I can't get out of this bed again. I'll never see you again, not until the winter comes to take me away. I'll wait by the door for you on the other side. I'll wait. I loved you then, and I love you still. Death cannot keep us apart. I'll search the other side for you, the other half of my heart. I feel as cold as marble, laying in this bed. I'll close my eyes just a little and look for you when I wake again. But I'll never wake again. I'll never wake again.
Was a man who made his fortune in iron making. He was involved in financing the move from Lackawanna to Buffalo. He was born in Berkshire, New York, September 8, 1851, the son of a doctor. He graduated from the scientific department of Yale with a PhD in 1874. The first 39 years of his life found him living in Cincinnati, Ohio. He began work in the iron business there. In May of 1890, he came to Buffalo, New York. He was president of the Buffalo-Susquehanna Iron Company at the time. He was also the president of the Tonawanda Iron and Steel Company, the Puxatawney Iron Company, the Rogers Iron Mining Company, and the Monroe Iron Company. He was also vice president of the Iroquois Mining Company of Chicago, the Cascade Coal and Coke Company, and the Buffalo-Susquehanna Steamship Company. I guess one could say that he is, or actually he could say,
I am Iron Man.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Rogers. Not to be considered a bum who didn't do anything, he was also director of the Cleveland Furnace Company, the Rogers Brown Ore Company, the Marine National Bank, the Erie County Savings Bank, and a trustee in the Young Men's Christian Association. I gotta wonder when he didn't work. Well, I guess now. Yeah, he's on vacation now. Permanent vacation. In 1884, he married Eleanor Silliman, the daughter of Professor Silliman from Yale University. Heh, Silliman
is a silly man. Silly man, be a silly kind of man. If you do that for me, sir, if you can.
Actually, I think it's pronounced Silliman. Anyway, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers. Whoa, I just got that. Mr. Rogers. They're both buried here at this 10-foot-high statue of a woman called Aspiration. It was designed by nationally recognized sculptor Harriet Friesmuth in 1926. The statue is of a lightly robed woman with her head covered with a cape or cowl that sweeps behind her as if blown by wind. Her right arm stretches up as she tilts her head towards the sky, or heaven. Probably heaven. And unknown to most people, it's not the only one of its kind. You see, Harriet would create another version of Aspiration in 1933. This one was carved out of granite for Henry Berwind, and it's located in Laurel Hill Cemetery in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's like she's reaching out for a lunch break or something. Couldn't imagine working that much. I just don't get it. She's like, it's time to punch out. Let's go. Let's go home. No overtime. that's just a few of the grave markers I found in this massive place to talk about. I could spend all day here, but I got an investigation to do. The Wildwood Sanitarium's calling. So until next time, I'm Scary Gary. Let's go see what else we can dig up.
What's up, guys? It's Scary Gary. That's what he says, too.
Hey, no, it's like this. This is Scary Gary Sr.
Don't do this. I mean, beautiful, unique, strange, with a very...
Sorry, I didn't know.
That's what we're here for.
Did I know you were filming right there? No, I didn't know. Jeez.
Pages of the book you left behind. My heart's just going through the stages. The harder you are to find.
I gotta wonder when he didn't.
That's all he did. And somehow still lived to be 95? 90, yeah, 95?
Part of the script.
I'll search the other side for you. The other half.
Well, I mean, you're cutting that out anyways, it's fine.
Well, maybe not. It's gonna be the end.
I feel as cold as marble, laying in this bed. I'll close my eyes just a little and look for you when I wake again. I'll look for you when I wake again.
If you do me, then fuck, don't do me. If you do me, and fuck, I did it again.
There are many intriguing and unique gravestones here, and many stories that lie beyond them. So it made it very difficult to choose just 3 of them to talk about. But that's what we're gonna do.
And this isn't even one of them, it's a freebie.
This is a freebie.
I feel as cold as marble laying in this bed. I'll close my eyes just a little and look for you when I wake again. I'll look for you when I wake again.
As the story goes, Nelson died of a broken heart.
I never knew.
Still not sure if I'm gonna put that joke in there. Nelson from The Simpsons pointing.
Just what to say to you, so I stumbled in surprise. You amazed me in an instant, in a moment lost to time. Take me back to the day I wait for you for hours.
It also looks like a titty from aerial view, and I can't put that in the show now because my drone's dead.
He just wanted to say it, just to say it. But it probably does.
Well, I didn't realize it until I was like, okay, that part, and then I'm like, oh, as I'm saying it, oh, I can't get it.
Looks like ice cream sundae, cherry on top.
It kind of does.
Titty.
Also, titty. I love that.
Here behind these headlines,
She was good enough for him. Just wasn't up to par. And they didn't want him mingling with the help.
That was all reserved for Daddy.
Director of the Cleveland Furnace Company, the Rogers Brown Ore Company, the Marine National Bank, the Erie County Savings Bank, and a trustee in the Young Men's Christian Association.
Fuck this guy. Jesus Christ, dude. Bravo.
I got this memory tattooed on my heart, and until I take my last breath, this memory won't part. Time stopped aligning for the different arms we bear.
Like 7 we need to track down though.
Just go back to those